Hi guys. It was suggested to me that I do a video and do some trick shots. That's not going to happen. I may do a couple, uh, but most I just want to just talk about them. What I have set up here is one of the few that I ever messed with back, late '80s, like early in my development as a player. I would do some things to help to learn about kisses and caroms and throw and things like that. And I guess I thought some of them were kind of cool. For those of you that don't remember this kind of a setup, probably most of you, back in the 1970s, late 1970s, not 1870s, shut up, Steve Mizrak did a commercial for Miller Lite. And in that commercial, he walked around talking about the beer and shooting some shots. This was the last one he shot, kind of. In his version, he had a beer sitting right here in the corner. Don't put your damn beer on the pool table, people. Just don't. I put the 9 ball there instead. And he went around, he shot it, and he shot this as his last shot. Let's see if I can. So imagine that the cue ball was coming towards the pocket or the beer, and he said, "Oh, I'm just showing off." That type of deal. Anyway, I thought that was interesting, and I wasn't even playing pool then. And I thought, well, that was kind of cool. One of the last times I ever thought trick shots were cool. Just never really understood the fascination with them for the most part. Fast forward 15 years, in the 1990s, before the days of YouTube and all that, we watched television. We were a bunch of cavemen basically, and we watched television. And on television, there was very little pool in the 1990s. What there was seemed to be reruns of the Women's Professional 9 Ball Tour and reruns of trick shot competitions. Trick shot magic, they called the things. And, because it was pool and because it was all we had, I would watch those things. And, I formed opinions and all that. And that's what you get on my channel is my opinions and stuff. I can recall 3 main types of trick shots that you would see. The first one, we can get rid of it fairly easily. Ones that require props, like this. And to me, every one of those shots, every one of them, looked about as exciting as this, and required about as much skill as that. Some of them required a little bit more skill. I'm generalizing here, but no, just hated those. The other kind of shots that I would see, right? Another kind of shot I would see would be like the one I just did, a setup type of a shot. Balls are set up in a certain way. And if they're set up correctly, you could, grab somebody out of the audience. And a lot of times people would do that. And as long as the person was able to stroke halfway straight, shoot the shot. I didn't line that up very well at all. And use your imagination on this channel. You get a lot. And woo, what a great shot. But I think it's one of the things that's always gotten to me about any kind of like trick shot is if I set the shot up correctly, which I didn't do that time clearly, anybody can make it. And this is not pool. This is setting it up. It takes some skill to learn the setup and to be precise enough in the setup, patient enough in the setup. This one that I did at the beginning here, but I hadn't shot it in 30 years. And it took me about 10 tries to get it set up correctly. You know, hammering the balls in and getting it all correct and all that. That's just the thing. It's a setup shot. And if it's set up correctly, the balls are probably going to go in. If it's not set up correctly, the balls aren't going to go in. And that's just, well, the way it works. I want to talk about this real quick, and I'll show you in the camera view as well. But the way I was told to find the carom line on this particular shot here, the 7 is supposed to carom off the 5 into this pocket. So what's that carom line? And like I said, I'll show you this from another view. As I walk around here, I can see a triangle at the bottom. The top of the triangle is where those two balls are touching. The bottom of the triangle are where the balls are touching the cloth. You can walk around, and when you get to that point where that triangle is the largest, then that's your carom line. If I had much better depth perception, then I could probably tell for sure that I'm on that carom line. But I can't. So in this, I can just hit this ball. And again, if it's set up correctly, it'll go in. If it's not set up correctly, it's not going to go in. It's just a setup shot. Let's show you what I was talking about with the finding the tangent line or the carom line on the shots. Can't move the camera because it's fixed. But what I was talking about was when two balls are frozen, you get a little triangle where the 13 and 4 are touching is the top of the triangle. And then the bottom is approximately where those two balls touch the cushion. As you move around, and I'm moving the balls, but you would be moving around, that triangle will get smaller and larger. When it's at its largest, that's your tangent line. And that's what I was trying to get at with that. So I did those a decent amount back again in my early development as a player to learn what happens with two frozen balls. Hey, this first ball travels along that carom line. Okay, how do you find the carom line? This was, interesting. You could have a similar type of shot like this. Okay, well, the 9's a really tough cut, but if I kick it into that carom line, it's got to go that way because physics. It's got to go that way. Again, it's not pool, but it was informative to me as a developing pool player to recognize situations like that. How do I find that carom line? There are ways you can manipulate the carom line, or the tangent line would be another way to say it. Like one of the shots that comes up in one pocket. Every now and then, depending on how bold a particular player is, because you might have a situation like this. Let's say we're playing one pocket and I need one ball and that's my pocket. One of the systems that can come up that I can shoot is I can push that 13 through that carom line, through that tangent line, and maybe into my pocket. Okay, well, that's cool. It would have been cool if it went in. What you learn with situations like that, these balls must be 100% frozen. Right now, they're not. And I didn't make the ball the first time, but they were frozen. This time they are not frozen. And if I try the same thing to push it through, then that's what happens. I missed a 5 by 800 miles. You learn stuff like that from those kind of setup shots. Not cool. And one of the things that I just always had a problem with the whole trick shot thing is people look at a shot, a setup shot, or even, and sometimes the one where you need props or gimmicks on the table, and they're, oh, that's awesome. He's an awesome player because he calculated all this shit to make bad examples. I'm not even going to try. This what I'm going to set up here is one that everybody's seen, and I'm not even going to shoot it. I'm just going to set up the general gist of this shot. Now, maybe I will shoot it, just see how far off I am. And this, the butterfly shot, I think it's called. You take this, grab somebody from the audience, and have them come out. As long as they can hit the ball straight and fairly firmly, a ball goes in every pocket. Thing is, if I do this, it's not because I'm an awesome player and I calculated all the angles and throws and all this while I was down here getting ready to shoot. I'm not in a game and oh shit, I can just do this. No, I spent time figuring out the layout, tapping balls into place probably and all that. These are not lined up correctly at all. But maybe you can see that the ball is kind of generally in the direction. Not so much, but if I want to set up just half of the shot, this is the kind of thing I would use things like this to teach myself about things like throw and all that. What happens here? Let's have half the shot set up. What's supposed to happen? The 5 is supposed to go in that pocket. Combination off the 1, right? The 3 is supposed to go in this pocket. Combination off the 1. And then the 1 is supposed to carry him off the 3. So what happens here is I hit the 1, and the absolute very first thing it does is push that 5 towards that pocket. But the 1 can't move. All it can do is transfer energy. 1 can't move. 5's there. 1 still wants to go this way. Once the 5's out of the way, then the 1 can start going this way. Push the 3 ball towards this pocket. Or 1 still wants to go this way. Can't because the damn 3's in the way. But it pushes the 3 out of the way and caroms off the 3 into the side. This all happens in a millisecond or whatever. If it's set up correctly, it's 1 out of 3. That's probably about par for me right now on trick shots. If it's set up correctly, it's a tough shot to miss. It's not pool. And I think it always bothered me that I've had girlfriends and relatives and things that if they watch something like that, they think, oh, that's what a good pool player looks like. He can make 6 balls in 1 shot and things like that. And then they would watch me in person play, and I would miss, even help trying to make 1 ball in no pocket. I would miss, and they go, well, he sucks. Yeah, I do. But those guys aren't as good as they try to make it look with their trick shots and their setup shots and all that. It's just not the case for the most part. Because the third type of trick shots that I see or saw, in those competitions were shots that are beyond my ability. Always have been, always will be. And those are the stroke shots. The shots, masse, full table masse with accuracy, table length draw. See, I can't do them, so I'm just going to tell you what they are. Any kind of thing that just requires actual skill as a pool player, not actual skill in setting something up and tapping balls in place, and not actual skill at doing something like this, but actual skill as a pool player. Earl Strickland with his draw strokes, Larry Neville when he was still with us with his draw strokes. Efren, what's that guy named, that billiards player? Simi Sang or something like that. Absolutely unbelievable at massages and stuff. That Venom guy, absolutely unbelievable at a lot of shots that require just an unbelievable stroke. Those are cool. And I enjoy watching stuff like that. But they always seem to intersperse the stroke shots with some kind of a gimmicky shot. Tap the balls in place type of shot. The tapping the balls into place, those were useful to me back when I was learning that kind of stuff. Learning caroms and throws and all that. Now they're boring as hell to me. They're almost as boring as the ones that require props on the table. And then I get, I see the stroke shots. Like, yeah, well, I could never do that, so it's not as exciting for me to watch. Still interesting, and I guess it's better than nothing. At least with those, watch a shot like that. It took some skill for that guy to do that shit. It didn't just take tapping the balls into place or laying a bridge here in the correct position or whatever. It took actual pool skill. And so that's kind of my opinion about the trick shot stuff. When it was the only thing that I could watch as a pool player back in the 90s, and watch it because it was pool and it was all I could see. Now there's so many more choices. No, I wouldn't do it. If they held the World Trick Shot Championship down here in my basement, I probably would not walk down here and watch it because it would be boring to me. And that's just the way things are for me as far as trick shots go. I think when you're starting out or trying to learn, I think a lot of these setup shots can be very, very useful. They can be very informative. It can be fun to learn a shot like this 14. Well, it's the same shot that I did before. It can be fun to learn how to spot that carom angle and how to hit it and things like that. That can be fun. It can be more fun to do that than to just wait for it to show up in a game, is what I'm saying. But still not pool. Pool is being in a game, being in a situation, recognizing stuff, have the same situation that I just had, but they're not frozen anymore. Like, can I kick into the rail and then have the five hit that proper tangent line? In this case, probably not. The balls would have to be set differently. Maybe I could kick like this and get the five to go down there. Learning to recognize this stuff. Those were always the only benefit that I really got from trick shot competitions. If I hadn't been a pool player, just been, regular Joe Blow civilian, then sure, maybe I would have went, oh wow, he's the greatest pool player ever. But I knew better. I still do.